Imagine a ship just 10 miles away from the sinking Titanic with the ability to save countless lives but choosing to ignore the distress signals. This isn't fiction, but a real event on April 15, 1912. The ship, the SS Californian, earned an infamous reputation for not participating in the rescue. The Californian, a British steamship, was transporting cargo from London to Boston. Overshadowed by the Titanic's tragedy, its story is often untold. On that night, the Californian was nearest to the Titanic. Its crew saw the Titanic's distress flares but did not respond. It stayed still, its lights visible from the sinking Titanic, a beacon of hope that never arrived. Why did the Californian not aid the Titanic? Some blame poor communication. Others accuse its captain, Stanley Lord, of inaction. Perhaps it was a misunderstanding or deliberate negligence. Theories abound, but clear answers are lacking. We know the Californian's inaction led to a lost chance to save lives, haunting its legacy. The question persists: why didn't the Californian respond to the Titanic's pleas? As we explore this mystery, let's revisit that fateful night and unravel the events that led to one of the greatest maritime tragedies in history. On her maiden voyage, the Titanic unknowingly crossed paths with another ship, the SS Californian, already navigating the icy North Atlantic. While the Californian was much smaller, it played a crucial role in the events of that fateful night. Its experienced crew, led by Captain Stanley Lord, recognized the dangers of the icy waters and decided to halt until daylight on that chilly April 14th night. Meanwhile, the Titanic, a marvel of maritime engineering, was speeding through these waters. Its passengers, engrossed in luxury, and its stressed crew, were oblivious to the imminent dangers, in spite of several ice warnings received throughout the day, including one from the Californian that was dismissed. Unbeknownst to Californian's wireless operator, Cyril Evans, his warning had been disregarded, and the Titanic was heading straight towards the ice field they had wisely avoided. The Titanic hit the iceberg at 11:40 p.m. Shortly after, it began sending out distress signals. The mighty Titanic, the unsinkable ship, was in a fight for its life. The iceberg had torn a gash in her side, and the sea was pouring in. Desperate for help, the Titanic began to send out distress signals into the cold, dark night. These signals were not mere cries for help. They were a symphony of desperation. The Morse code tapped out the international distress signal SOS, followed by the Titanic's call sign MGY. Aerial rockets were fired into the sky, exploding into a dazzling array of red stars, each a silent plea for help. The ship's radio operators, Jack Phillips and Harold Bride, tapped out message after message, hoping against hope that someone would hear. But there was a grim irony at play. The one ship that could have made a difference, the SS Californian, was just a few miles away. But instead of being the savior, the Californian became an unwitting accomplice to the tragedy. Cyril Evans, the Californian's radio operator, had turned in for the night just minutes before the Titanic's distress signal started. The Californian's wireless was silent, and the ship was blind to the desperate pleas echoing through the airwaves. The Californian was not entirely ignorant of the Titanic's plight. Its crew had seen the rockets, but they had misinterpreted them. They thought the rockets were merely part of a celebration, a festive display rather than a desperate cry for help. Attempts were made to signal the distant ship with a Morse lamp, but the Titanic was too preoccupied with its own survival to notice. Caught in a tragic misunderstanding, the Californian continued on its course, the crew oblivious to the drama unfolding just over the horizon. The ship that could have been a lifeline was instead a ghostly bystander, its presence a cruel twist of fate. The Californian remained oblivious to the unfolding disaster just a few miles away. A tragedy was unfolding, a tragedy of errors and missed opportunities that would echo through the annals of maritime history. When dawn broke, the Californian's crew spotted the Carpathia, another ship, picking up the Titanic's survivors. As the morning sun painted the sky, the Californian found itself in the midst of a scene of tragic aftermath. It was a stark contrast to the quiet night that had passed, a night where they had been oblivious to the Titanic's desperate pleas for help. With the Carpathia bustling in the rescue efforts, the Californian had finally woken up to the enormity of the disaster. But it was too late. The Californian, which had been the closest ship to the Titanic, had missed its chance to respond in time. The delay in reaction wasn't just a matter of a few missed distress signals. It was a matter of hundreds of lives that could have been saved. The aftermath of the disaster brought with it a whirlwind of investigations. The British and American inquiries into the Titanic disaster were swift and thorough. The Californian's role, or rather its lack of one, was put under intense scrutiny. The ship's crew and its captain, Stanley Lord, were questioned about their inaction. The inquiries revealed a series of missed opportunities and misjudgments. The Californian had seen the rockets fired by the Titanic, but had dismissed them as non-distress signals. They had failed to respond to the Morse lamp signals and had not attempted to wake the wireless operator when the Titanic's distress signals were first spotted. The investigations resulted in a storm of controversy. Captain Lord and his crew faced heavy criticism and public outrage. The Californian was blamed for its failure to respond to the Titanic's distress signals, a failure that was now seen as a significant contributing factor to the high loss of life. The blame placed on the Californian was not without its critics. Some argued that the ship had been unfairly scapegoated. They contended that the real fault lay with the Titanic's inadequate lifeboats and the iceberg warnings that had been ignored. Despite the differing viewpoints, one fact remains undeniable. The Californian's inaction is a chilling reminder of the missed opportunities that night. The Californian's inaction remains one of the most controversial aspects of the Titanic disaster. The story of the Californian serves as a stark reminder of the dire consequences of miscommunication and complacency at sea. The inaction of the Californian on that fateful night in April 1912 had a profound impact on maritime laws and communication protocols. It was a catalyst for change, a tragic wake-up call that underscored the urgent need for effective communication and stringent safety measures at sea. In the aftermath of the Titanic disaster, the world realized the price of complacency. Maritime safety became a global concern, leading to the creation of the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea. This significant treaty, still in force today, sets minimum safety standards in the construction, equipment, and operation of merchant ships. The incident also led to drastic changes in wireless communications at sea. The Radio Act of 1912 was passed in the United States, requiring radio communication equipment and operators to be on board passenger ships at all times. It also mandated that distress signals be given priority over all other communications, a rule that, had it been in place, might have made the Titanic's calls for help impossible to ignore. The lessons learned from the Californian's inaction are invaluable. It taught us the importance of vigilance, the need for clear and effective communication, and the dire consequences of complacency. It emphasized the enormous responsibility that comes with navigating the vast and unpredictable sea. It's an enduring lesson, one that continues to resonate with us even today, more than a century after the tragedy. The maritime world has come a long way since that fateful night, but the story of the Californian and the Titanic serves as a potent reminder of the lessons of the past. Lessons that continue to shape the safety measures and communication protocols at sea. And so, the SS Californian, forever linked to the Titanic, sails on in history, a ghostly reminder of a night that the world will never forget.